All right. Well, greetings, everyone. I want to greet you with lots of love, peace, and positivity. And I'm on my lunch break. All right. And I'm going to be eating while I do this video. I don't mean to have bad manners, but I only have so much time for my lunch break. And I don't have time to do my lunch break and do a live stream separately. So I'm going to do them at the same time. Y'all don't mind? I hope you don't mind. The other thing, too, is I don't get very good reception where I'm located at right now. So if it cuts out, I'll just keep streaming and y'all can always come back and check out the stream or the archive video. I hope y'all have been doing well. I'm doing wonderful. Today my supervisor came and spoke with me, and he told me that starting next week that I'm already full-time, but he said they're going to need me here not only full-time but extra time. So he said anywhere between 10 hours a day to 12 hours a day. So that's going to be definitely different, but I'm looking forward to it. Got to do what I got to do for my family. It means I'll earn a little bit more income each week, and I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more. I did a video earlier on today, and really the video, I didn't get a chance to really finish it up the way that I would have liked. Okay, and thank you so much. 2Live3 said, "Hey, Lennon, so happy for you to get that cheddar." Well, thank you so much. I got to do what I got to do for my family, ladies and gentlemen. I've been putting this off for such a long time, and I've been trying to do other things, and documentaries and videos and writing books, and and I can still do some of those things, but at this point, I ran out of time and I ran out of money to keep doing those types of things. And at this point, my children, they need a whole lot more. My wife needs a whole lot more. So I got to do what I got to do. So I took a full-time job. I was going to do part-time, but now it's full-time, and it's going to be full-time plus. But we got to do what we got to do as dedicated husbands and fathers. Jarrell says, "I just want to be like you, man." Well, you know what? You can be like me, but you're going to be better than me. That's the whole idea. Jarrell, you can be better. And the thing is that I think that if I would have been more progressed in my life earlier on, I wouldn't even probably be in a position right now financially, to where I have to take not only a full-time job, plus running my online businesses, plus taking extra hours. Okay. Next week is going to be a challenge, 10 to 12 hour days for the whole week. And that's going to be ongoing. Let's see. Marlon just said, "Hey, Lennon, have you ever thought about making meditation CDs?" Yes, I do have music on my website too, lennonarnold.com/music, and I have meditation music there as well. Now, hold on, y'all. Let me at least have a bite of my muffin. Goodness. So we just hanging out. I know it's rude to talk while you're eating, but this is how we're gonna have to do. I know some people gonna be mad at me, but I'm trying to talk with y'all. He said, "Oh, Lennon done lost his mind. He's doing live streams now. He was doing it in his car on the way to work. Now he's doing live streams during his lunch break while he's eating." Well, I'm gonna tell you one thing right now. I'm not a pretentious man at all. I'm not. And my wife made these wonderful muffins, these vegan muffins, and they're good. Got me some tea. I'm gonna hang out with y'all and chit chat if y'all don't mind. And I'm gonna leave this light off too, because I don't want my coworkers walking by and seeing me talking and they think I'm crazy. They don't know I'm doing a live stream. If they just see me in here talking, eating. One of my coworkers next right here, he's looking at me funny. He said, "Yeah, he done lost his mind." Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about what my video upload today was, a live stream that I did, and basically on the way here to work, I did a live stream. And I was talking about the whole situation with Cam Newton and some of the comments that he made, and I don't mean to laugh because it's not funny, but it's humorous because sometimes people say things and they may not necessarily realize that what they're saying is harmful, or that it's sexist, or that it's even racist or whatever. And I think this was an incident with Cam Newton that he didn't really realize. I don't think it was malicious on his part. Like he said to himself, I'm going to go ahead and say something that's going to just be disrespectful towards this woman. And I don't mean to laugh. This was a who is a beat writer. And she had asked him a question about football, and it was a legitimate question. She wasn't trying to be disrespectful or anything like that. She asked him a legitimate question that any male, it wasn't no big deal. And he laughed, and he laughed, and he goes, "It's that to have women asking that question." Or it's a football related question. I'm paraphrasing, but the way, obviously it was a sexist comment. I don't think that he meant it to be that. I was talking about it, and that's why I think a lot of males are coming to the defense at their own sexist views, and we all I it's we were just together on the phone a lot, and it just reminds me of that. So I have a lot of positive emotions that come up whenever I talk to my wife during my lunch break. But she said she saw the video from earlier today, and then she also said that you know, you don't realize it, but you used to be very sexist. And I said, well, what do you mean? She says, well, remind me when you were doing that video. It reminded me of one time when we were we were fussing at each other. We were living at this one house. This is when I think she was pregnant with our first son. She might have been pregnant with our second son, but she said, I wanted to go somewhere, and you said, well, all you need is food to cook or something like that. All you need to do is, or all you need to be happy is food to cook, something like that. And I was shocked, and I started laughing on the phone with my wife, and I said, well, I was joking, right? She said, I didn't think you were joking. I said, no, I had to have been joking. She says, no, you used to have some very sexist views. And I said, well, I apologize. You know, if that's something I said, if I said it wasn't a joke, I apologize for that. I'm so sorry. And we laughed about it because she recognized, and I recognized too, that I had sexist views back then. I've been working on that over the many, many years. I've been working on it. I think that's the big difference. Like a man who is committed to his own personal refinement, he's going to look at himself in the mirror and say, okay, look, I have these views, I have these sexist views, and I'm going to work on these particular issues. And that's precisely what I've done. In point of fact, that's why I think I'm able to have a positive relationship with my wife. We've been together now for 16 years, been married for 14 years. So you mean if you want to do something to improve upon yourself as a man, you can work on your own sexist views. So I think that's why Cam Newton strikes a lot of emotions in people, in particular in males, and in particular African-American males, because we tend to have some extremely sexist views about African-American women. In point of fact, a lot of the cultural aspects present in the African-American community that's kind of been like accepted as the norm, it's rooted in extreme sexism. Now, sexism exists in all cultures. Don't get me wrong. I talked about that earlier today. It exists in all cultures. But I mean, we have music genres committed to the disrespect of women. No other group of people have that. I mean, the type of language that we use and how we classify them, the beasties and the bed wenches and the hoochies and the hoes and the bitches, and it goes on and on and on. No other group of people have that. They're not like that. And then for us, it's celebrated. So that's why, you know, it's interesting when I brought up the Cam Newton thing, or, you know, earlier today, the types of responses that I got. So this is a couple of comments. And one of the things I noticed, and this is something I wanted to talk about, it's the disservice for African-American black folk whenever sexism is brought up, and the first thing that black males pretend to do, many black men do, to divert, switch with white supremacy. White supremacy ain't got shit to do with what I'm talking about in this video, nor does it have anything to do with what I was talking about earlier today. But when you can divert and you start to focus on white supremacy, now you don't have to deal with you, and you don't have to deal with what you need to work on as a man. See, part of the problem with adopting this concept of global white supremacy is that it puts people in, for many people, not all, but many people, puts them in a situation, or at least in their mentality, where they believe that they are perpetually victims and that they have very little power to overcome the system as is. And again, global white supremacy as a system of domination, if you will, is an exaggeration. However, racism does in fact exist. But if you exaggerate the fact that racism exists, and then you make it appear to be as if it's overwhelming, and there's no way that you can transcend it, now you must play the victim role. And therefore, by adopting the victim mentality and the victim role, you never hold yourself accountable. Most definitely, you're not going to hold yourself accountable for the shit that you do that ain't got nothing to do with what you believe white people are doing to you or have done to you. As an example, being disrespectful towards black women and having disrespectful, misogynistic views about women. And then when someone like, let's say, Donald Trump because he's a misogynist, he's sexist too, when he makes his sexist comments, many people, many African Americans in particular, males in particular, will jump on, oh, look, he said this. Yeah, but look, I mean, we say nothing about what we do. We say nothing about the music that we listen to. We say nothing about how we treat our women on a daily basis. So let's not divert. In point of fact, I would propose that many males who adopt the whole conspiracy theory about global white supremacy, many of those males who promote that are extremely misogynistic and sexist, and instead of dealing with sexism, which is impacting their own women, they instead want to look at what they think is impacting them as men. And I'm going to tell y'all something right now, even though it's kind of like off the topic. White supremacy ain't stopping me from doing shit. Racism is not stopping me from doing shit. So stop exaggerating. It's not stopping me from being a dedicated husband to my wife, nor is it stopping me from being a dedicated husband to, or excuse me, father to my children. Any man out there, I don't know, this is relevant because I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of excuse making by black men. Excuse making, I'm just tired of it. And to a great degree, white supremacy becomes an excuse. No personal accountability. Now, is there racism? Yes. Are there people out there who are harming African Americans? Yes. But the truth is that the people who are harming African Americans the most are African Americans. We don't want to look at that. But the point that I want to get at here is nothing is stopping me, and nothing can stop you. And yet we have African American males who will use global white supremacy as if global white supremacy is stopping them from achieving in life. Simply not true. Let me put this another way. If you are an absentee father, which is your decision and your choice, you should not be saying anything about global white supremacy because you are the problem. If you call your own women bitches and hoes and maggots and bed wenches and skanks and skeezers, and it goes on and on and on, global white supremacy is not the problem. Your own mentality is the problem. So let's stop trying to make excuses and divert. See, and it's a serious problem because you'll find that males who adopt that whole idea about global white supremacy, which is an exaggeration. Again, mind you, there is racism. They're not even in a position to be able to maintain a positive relationship with a woman, let alone be the type of man that they need to be for their children, because they've taken on the victim mentality and always crying and whining and complaining about what they think white. You can't even function in society that way as a man. And you know, the truth is it reminds me of, just to take it out of the scope of the African American community. Hold on, let me get happy. See, y'all not even letting me eat. It reminds me of many white males who get into the conspiracy theory paradigm, and now all of their problems is blamed on the global elite or reptilian shapeshifters or the Bilderbergs. I mean, shit, it goes on and on and on. Reptilian shapeshifters, the global elite, Bohemian Grove. The list goes on and on and on. And what I've found is that these types of men, it's hard for women to even respect men like this, let alone being in a positive relationship. Can you imagine me going around here talking about global white supremacy is stopping me from doing this, and global white supremacy is stopping me? And how would my son look at me? Huh? How would my daughters look at, and how would my wife look at me? If I'm going around always global white supremacy stopping, white people stopping me, racism ain't stopping me from doing shit. It's not stopping me from being a dedicated husband. It's not stopping me from being a dedicated father. It's not stopping me from getting a job. It's not stopping me. I told myself what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 20 applications and someone's going to hire me. Yes, the shapeshifters, the shapeshitters. Remember the reptilian shapeshitters? White males do that. You know, and it gets deep because then they start blaming Mexicans and they blame Jews. And you're in a privileged position. What are you talking about? As a white male, you're in a privileged position. It's okay to admit that. I mean, yes, African-American males, we are in a disadvantaged position, but there's a lot of other groups of people who are in disadvantaged positions. There's people who are in disadvantaged position because they come to this country, can't even speak English, and yet they find a way. They don't make excuses. They don't blame white people. They don't blame global white supremacy. So why do we do that so much? I'm so tired of it. It's so counterproductive. You know what? I'm just going to say it. It's some punk shit. It is. And why is it? Because you can't function as a man if you're always externalizing your power to something outside of you and you want to play the victim. And you'll find that women in general, but African American women in particular, they don't find that to be attractive. It's hard for them to respect the man who has that orientation. And see, someone just said I had to get my computer to comment. It is rare for black men to talk about sexism. Thank you. And this is true. And you know, one of the reasons why is because black males in general who tend to talk about, let's say, equality, they tend to focus on that which they think is affecting them as opposed to that which is affecting their women. And that's a problem in and of itself because it shows you that we're with each other in male-female relationships within the African-American community. African-American males are so quick to focus on, police brutality and this and that. Yeah, but okay, but what about the brutality that you issue against your own women? I mean, so let's start there. All right, is this thing still on? Again. Well, that means it's time to go. It doesn't cut out again. It's time to go. But I was saying, this is going to be the last part. I always laugh when I see certain comments because people get into their emotions and start calling people names and stuff like that. I mean, you know, but what I was going to say was, and this will be the last point. It's easier for a lot of black males to focus on what they think other people are doing to them, in particular what they think white people are doing to them, even though the truth is that most white people are not even interested in what you're dealing with. And it just doesn't work that way. It's easier to focus on what you think other people are doing to you as opposed to thinking about what you're doing to yourself and what you're doing to your own people, and in particular what you're doing to your own women. And see, that's where we come back to the whole sexism part. A lot of males in general, African-American males in particular, don't want to deal with sexism because now you have to look at and hold yourself accountable because no one is forcing you to treat women that way or treat your own women that way. You see my point? There was something else I wanted to say, but I forgot. I gotta go. So I want. Okay, someone asked what's for lunch. I'm having that. I also have some one of these bars. Okay. Yeah, okay, so let's end with this because have that type of mentality. Most men have sexist ideology. So it's not a racial issue. I know people try to say it's a racial issue and you shouldn't talk about him because it's racist stuff. What the fuck what are you talking about? He made a comment, ain't got nothing. Okay, it's back. My goodness. I'm just gonna end with this. So how can black men do, but it's not just about black men, it's about all men. And I'm telling you, one of the things that we need to do is we need to look diverse view that we have about women. I'll propose that once we begin to do that, we can begin to rectify the mentality, but then also we'll begin to treat our women a whole lot better and treat women a whole lot better. We'll have more respect for them and they'll have more respect for us. The problem is that instead of us being critical of our sexist mentality and our sexist behavior, we tend to divert, and men tend to do that in general. And it's unfortunate because that particular issue, no one's forcing us to be sexist. It's something that we can resolve within ourselves. I'm still working on the issue. Can't blame white supremacy on that. Can't blame racism on that. Sexism existed long before the concept of race existed, let alone the concept of or the behavior pattern that comes out of that concept of racism. Okay, so all I'm saying is, if you're going to you want to deal with social equality, well, let's deal with the racism, but let's also be courageous enough and responsible enough and honorable enough as men to also deal with sexism. And I'm out. I want to send y'all lots of love, peace, and positivity. Enjoy your evening, and I'll be back tomorrow with the live stream on the way to work. Y'all take care. See, there we go. My clock just went off. It's time to get back to work and get that cheddar. All right, y'all take care. Peace.